Some memories are indelible, carved into the bedrock of your experiences. Other memories are fallible. We think that we remember them correctly, but when we revisit those experiences sometime later, it reveals a different truth. Back in February of 2022, I reviewed the HiFiMan Edition XS headphones. These are a headphone that people rave about. I was less excited by them. I could see, or rather hear, their appeal, but I felt that their flat staging held them back from being truly remarkable. Since then, I've actually recommended people against buying the Edition XS, and instead directed them to other headphones that I thought were better options. But then Custom Cans reached out to me and offered to send me a set of their super grills for the Edition XS, which is intended to take the tuning of the Edition XS much closer to that of the way more expensive Arya Organic headphones. At least, that's the claim. But there was a problem. I didn't own the Edition XS, they were lent to me by a Patreon member. Thankfully, HiFiMan are awesome and agreed to send me a new pair of the Edition XS for an updated review and a discussion of the Super Grills mod from Custom Cans. Opening up the Edition XS box immediately reminded me of my biggest issue with the Edition XS, that headband. There are a few things you can do to fix that problem, such as adding a different headband onto the Edition XS cups or buying a modification strap, such as the one offered by Custom Cans that I haven't reviewed, so I can't say if it's any good, but I know that there's solutions out there. Now, by the way, if it just so happens that you're not already familiar with the Edition XS, these are a headphone that used to cost over $500 US, but these days they cost just $269 US. And so it makes sense now for them to have the base version headband of the HiFiMan range, but once upon a time it was a bit of a deal breaker for me at their price. And so it's a shame that it's not a particularly stable headband on the head, and it's not particularly comfortable in terms of creating a hotspot across the top of the head after extended use, but it's a pretty cheap headphone, it's something you'd live with. Before doing anything along the lines of modifications or comparisons with the new pair of Edition XS, I wanted to take another listen and remind myself of why I'd thought they weren't that great the first time around. As I said before, I hadn't been a huge fan. But it turns out I was wrong. Well, not exactly wrong, because these things used to cost a whole lot more money, and I do still feel like they're held back just a little bit by their very inside the head left-right soundstage presentation. At the new price of $269 US though? Wow. The sense of detail and resolution that these deliver, along with an outstanding tonal balance, make them incredibly hard to beat at the price. There are some other great headphones at around the same price, such as the Drop and Sennheiser HD6XX or the Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X, to name just a couple. Oh, and of course you can't forget HiFiMan's own Sundara headphone. But they're all different from the Edition XS. None of those headphones I just mentioned offer the kind of tonal balance that the Edition XS does. I also don't think any of them quite have the same technical chops either. But all of that just got me more excited to hear what the Custom Cans mod might be able to achieve. I could hear that the Edition XS had the underpinnings of a great technically performing headphone. They've got excellent resolution, detail, separation of sounds, it's all there. If the Custom Cans mod could actually bring their tuning in line with the Arya Organic, then you wouldn't need to spend an extra $500 US to get the more expensive headphone. You could just buy the Edition XS and tack on the mod. And so I installed the Custom Cans Super Grills for the Edition XS. These are £40 if you want to buy them, with the external trim that makes them look just a little bit more finished. Just clicks on like that, and the installation process is pretty straightforward. The only real challenge for me was getting everything aligned properly when you're putting it back together, and particularly trying to get the screws into the holes near the 3.5mm sockets on the bottom of the cups, that was a little bit of a fiddle, but nothing too bad. Once it was all together, I took a fresh set of measurements with the Custom Cans mod in place, and my measurements showed some significant shifts in the frequency response, including a 2 kHz dip that can often be used to produce a greater sense of space between the listener and the sound. And so knowing that that had been the issue I'd had with the Edition XS before, that being the very close feeling of the sound, I was excited to give them a listen and see how they fared. And it was immediately clear that the Super Grill mod did improve the sense of space in the soundstage. Unfortunately, it also created a bit of harshness in the upper frequencies. Jason from Custom Cans, at least I think it's Jason, I hope it's Jason, he's got a solution for that where there's some tape that you get provided with the Super Grill mod that you can apply to the inside of the pads. Now I didn't go that far on my set here because I didn't want to risk damaging the pads in any way when I was removing the tape, because I wanted to keep these being the Edition XS, in their stock form so I could reuse them in future for other comparisons and other reviews. On top of that, the little bit of harshness that I'm talking about isn't extreme. I didn't feel that I had to do the additional tape modification to make them listenable. They were completely listenable, they just weren't quite as refined as they had been before the modifications. What I was more interested in was how the Edition XS with the Super Grills now compared to the Arya Organic. The Super Grills mod on the Edition XS does bring their tuning much closer to the Arya Organic, but they don't quite get the technical performance to the same level, and that would be a challenge because we are technically talking about different drivers. This is not just a retuned driver in each of their different models, they're different driver designs for each of their headphones as far as I understand. On a track like Survivor by Robert Cray, the Arya Organics reveal a bit more space around each of the instruments, so you get a sense of greater separation amongst all the different sounds. There's also a sense of greater refinement from the sound of the Arya Organics, compared to a slightly grainy upper end from the Edition XS. Subjectively, the technical performance of the Organics is better. In terms of tuning, the two are incredibly close. Probably the biggest difference in tuning is that the Edition XS has an obvious sense of a little bit more energy in the upper mid-range, and that brings the vocals a bit more present and a bit more forward in the mix. Not forward as in more close to you, but forward as in a bit more emphasized. On Digging in the Dirt, the bass from the XS with the Custom Cans mod is excellent, as it is in its stock form. And both the Edition XS and the Arya Organic have very similar tonalities in the opening passages of this track. However, the Edition XS is a bit more sibilant than the Arya Organic once the vocals kick in. Their sound is undeniably excellent if you're after an organic style tuning, but they do still fall just a little bit short on refinement and can sound a touch harsh in comparison to the Organics. On the other hand, the modification definitely does improve their sound staging. It pushes the sound further outside the head and makes the headphones sound less left to right only, and gives them a bit of depth as well. For me, I will probably return these to their stock form after this review, partly because I like them to be in their stock form for other comparisons, but also that in their stock form they really are brilliant at the price. Having said that, I think these look pretty cool once they're modified, and for anybody wanting a sound that approaches something more like the Arya Organic at only a quarter of the price, I think the Super Grills mod from Custom Cans is absolutely brilliant, especially if you're willing to play around a little bit with the tape modification of the ear pads. That could take them a step further that I haven't done here. And already without the tape mod, they're very enjoyable. I think if I wasn't doing reviews and comparisons, it's going to be a tough call which way I'd keep these. I'd probably switch back and forth between the two because you can. And so I think for the price, it's a fun and easy way to get two different tunings of your Edition XS if you're comfortable unscrewing it and popping it to pieces. There's no wiring, there's no soldering, there's no technical knowledge required, just a screwdriver. And so for £40 plus some shipping, and maybe some import tariffs or duties, you'll need to look into that for your local location, I think the Super Grills are fantastic. My challenge now is for the team at Custom Cans to come up with a tuning modification that's going to bring the Edition XS closer to the new Arya unveiled. The unveiled mark a shift in tuning of the Arya back towards a smoother and richer sound. That's lovely. At this stage, I've only had a brief listen to the Arya unveiled, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see the whole review, because they're a bit different and they're really, really interesting. Now, if you've just heard me talking about the Arya Organics and the fact that they're still better than the modified Edition XS, and that sounds like more your cup of tea, then check out this video up here next. It's my full review of the Arya Organics, breaking down why I think they're such a fantastic headphone. And for now, thank you to Custom Cans for sending out the super grills for me to be able to make this review for you. Thank you to YouTube channel members, thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you that leave super thanks on videos like this one. And until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.